Perspectives. Do you think about perspectives much? I try to, and sometimes it's difficult because we all have our own opinions about things based upon our beliefs, our past experiences, what we've experienced, what we've learned, what we've been told, and other people have their own. So people may speak to you in a way or have behaviors in a way that don't make sense to you, don't align with, who and what you believe in. And that doesn't make it wrong. It might make it incongruent to who you are. And that's where I feel like having principles in our life are so important, because principles are those things that you can't waver from. You know that those are important to you and you're unable to waver from those in business and life. Perspectives can be opposite of your principle, or it could be, something small that's just a difference. It's not one of your principles. And as you go through life, you may update those principles and decide, hey, there's something else here that is really important that needs to be one of my principles. And principles are awesome because it's immediately clear when something presents itself to you, whether it's an opportunity or a problem, and you know which way to react, what decision to make, because you know whether it goes for, with, or against your principles, right? Principles can be something like, honesty, and you only work with honesty, and you only work with others who are honest, and that's one of your principles, your guiding principles that you will not waver from. So when someone is incongruent with that and they're telling you lies or mistruths or has truths, then at that point you know that you no longer want to deal with that situation. Now granted, in business and life you may have to deal with something, but it allows you to know that it's not something you're choosing, right? So if it goes against that principle, you can at least go into that knowing, okay, this person doesn't have the same principles as me. I have to deal with them in this situation, but I know that this isn't someone that I want to have on my team or someone I rely on, right? And you just know that you have to deal at arm's length with that person. So that principle helped you through that situation. And then when you meet someone and everything aligns with your principles and they want to join your team or be part of something you're doing, okay, yeah, let me take a chance on this person because everything aligns with the principles. And there can be little things that don't align, but as long as it's not against your principles, then you move forward. Some little things, like different people do things differently. Like I see little memes and stuff about it, like, oh, someone said, texted me and said call me, so they joked around and they said, hey, I'm gonna start calling people and say text me and then hang up on them. Like those are little like annoying things, but it's probably not most people's principles. Like you probably don't have a principle set that you want to only work with people who text or only work with people who do phone calls, right? So that's probably not a principle. Now, a principle of yours may be clear communication, and so that may be a conversation you have with people that, what clear communication looks like to you. But it's very interesting because I hear people often upset by people who do things differently than they do, and you don't need to allow it to upset you. It's okay to notice it and make a decision based upon it, like, hey, is this someone I want to continue dealing with or not? Or it's something you have a conversation, a communication with that person. Hey, here's a hard boundary for me. I don't deal with people who lie or mislead, so I don't feel like we're going to go forward in this business relationship or this personal relationship. And you can say that in a nice way, or you can just say that internally and just slowly remove yourself from that person and situation. How you handle it can be lots of different ways. You don't have to allow something like, have you heard where people let things build up, like a passive aggressive, they let things build up to where they're like, this person keeps taking advantage of me, and then at one point they blow up and they're like, this person, you know, has taken advantage of me multiple times. And that other person may know they're taking advantage of you, but they may not know. It may just be how they function, and it's just not congruent with how you function. And if you've never mentioned it to them before, or never responded in a manner that shows them how you wish to communicate, or how you wish to be treated, or move forward on a project together, or whatever the case may be, they would have no idea to know. Like, think about this. Say like you have a spouse and you cook this very fancy dinner, and you know, it was over the top, and you know, what do you like it? Do you like it? And you know, you took all day making it, so you were all excited about it. So they saw how excited you were, and they hated the meal. They thought it was disgusting. Like they hated it, but they ate it because they were trying to be nice and polite to you. And they're like, oh, this is delicious. You know, honey, thanks for making me this meal. You know, blah, blah. And they go on and on because they're trying to make you feel really good about something they know you spent a lot of time and effort and energy on. And they hated it, right? So you take that feedback of how much they loved it, because that's what they told you. So you make it again next week, and you're all excited about it, and you're angry because it took you all effing day to make it. And so you're frustrated because you're like, man, they like this, and I had to go to the store and buy all these ingredients, and I had to, you know, spend the whole day making it. But you know what? I'm doing it for them. I'm doing it for them because, you know, they really liked it. They really liked it. And you don't communicate how you're feeling with them. You're just trying to then please them. And then, you know, the next time they're like, oh, really good, honey, you know, thanks for making that. But they're gagging the whole way through. And then finally one day after, you know, you go through this a lot, and you both have resentment toward one another because no one is speaking their truth, because they don't want to hurt the other one's feelings, right? You're trying to please them, they're trying to please you. And then one day somebody blows up and says, this the grossest food, or, you know, I'm so tired of making this, and you know, blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, you don't even like this meal? I've been slaving over it and I hate making it. And they're like, oh my God, you hate making it? I hate eating it. I just felt bad. And so then you have this clarity moment of how silly you both were, and you can move on to it. Now that's a best case scenario that finally comes up, because a lot of times it's not going to, and it's just going to keep eating and building resentment in both of you, right? Which causes stress, which causes disease, which causes all these things. Now, if you were to, you know, ask, hey, look, it's not going to hurt my feelings at all. Did you like this meal? Because I want to know whether to put it in rotation or not. And, you know, you're not going to hurt my feelings either way. And they say, you know, I didn't really love it. You know, I appreciate all the time and effort you put into it, but it's really not something I care to have again, you know, unless you just really love it. And you're like, oh my God, I didn't really like it either. And it's so much work and yada, yada. And then you could have like alleviated all that potential, you know, stress and resentment, people pleasing towards one another, right? So yeah, in the beginning, it's the person that made that meal, when the other person says they don't really like it, it could, you know, hurt their feelings a little bit to hear that they don't like it. And the initial reaction may be like, really, you don't like it? You know, and they may respond negatively, but ultimately they're gonna be like, you know what, thank you. And they're gonna come to the realization, if they're a normal, healthy person, that they're glad that they know now, and that that's not something you like or enjoy, and then you can both move on without people pleasing and then being wrong on top of it. So people pleasing is such a bad thing, especially when it goes against one of your principles and congruent. And then in that case where both people are doing it, it's crazy, right? Like, it's not even like one person was actually enjoying the situation. And that happens more often than you would think. How many times can you go back in your memory and think about when something finally came to a head, or something where you said it right away and you had this sense of relief because the other person felt the same way, but they were afraid to say it too, right? So anyways, what I want to encourage you to do is start thinking about your principles, and whether it's something that goes through business and personal and everything, or if you have different principles for, you know, different areas of your life, maybe that makes more sense to you. Whatever it is, write those down and narrow it down to the top 3 or 5, maybe even 10. And then moving forward, if honesty is one of your principles, you're going to have to be honest with people, even when it maybe doesn't feel the greatest. Yes, try to be as nice as possible with situations, but obviously still be honest, because that's one of your principles, and you can't be dishonest while you're expecting honesty from others. I hope this has helped. And if you have any comments, suggestions, thoughts, you think I'm crazy, comment below. I would love to read them.